All right, welcome into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. The holidays will be here before you know it. Folks, if you're wanting to stay in the Smokies during those beautiful snowy winter weeks and months, you need to book right now. And if the weekends are booked, you need to check weekdays. They got great deals for the weekdays at Parkside Cabin Rentals. And boy, do they have all kinds of selections for you. Whether it's a big cabin, small cabin, far off by yourself in the mountains or real close right to downtown Gatlinburg, you can go to their website, click in what you want, find all the information, pick the one you want. Parkside Cabin Rentals. The Ogle family's been doing hospitality in the Smokies since the park opened. They know what they're doing. ParksideCabinRentals.com. Okay, let's take a look at the red zone struggles here. Entering yesterday's game, Tennessee ranked 95th out of 133 schools with 18 touchdowns and 33 red zone trips. That was 54%. Yesterday, they were one of 4 on red zone trips instead of in terms of touchdowns. They now have just 19 in 37 trips. That is down to 51% touchdown rate on red zone trips. Not a good number. They've got to get that fixed. Want to introduce this guy, VFL Sterling Hinton. Welcome in.
Good to be here, John P.
And he is on the Stoll train along with Will Overstreet, Mike's train. And this is Bob, the former walk-on at UT. So we need another player. We need another player. You're walked on for this segment.
But Mike, you know what? I won't finish, so you better hurry.
So you're going to leave. So the Stoll train, I'm going to start with you. What's the number one reason? I mean, there's got to be multiple factors why you're not doing well in the red zone. What's number one on your list, Mike Stoll?
Well, so first of all, I think they need to change it to the green zone because you associate red with stop. So maybe they're like, we don't score? I don't know.
The orange zone.
Orange zone. Change it to something to that effect. I think what it boils down to is you've got a coordinator who's calling plays. You've got receivers who can't break open, running schemes. You've got a quarterback that doesn't throw across the middle well. So you now have very limited windows of where you can place the ball. So I think between quarterbacks, receivers, and maybe just some decisions with play calling, you can't make things happen because you just don't have the room.
Okay, so your one thing is play calling quarterbacks, wide receivers.
Yes, yeah. just like my answer to the pie question last week.
We didn't do the blame pie for a reason this week. We still go, okay, Sterling, what's your one reason for the red zone issues? Actually, do you agree with all those issues or there's something else?
Mike he's definitely brewing. It's his train, so he's brewing. He's driving. Right. But my one reason is Brew McCoy. I mean, we did a lot of things on those quick zone and quick screens outside. We had a guy that can block. We had a guy who can fake a block and get open. So I think missing Brew McCoy in the red zone is where it's most visible, him not being on the field.
And it has popped up the last 2 weeks, especially without him out there.
Yes.
Okay. Bob, what are your thoughts on this red zone thing?
Well, you know, if you go with what Sterling says, which I have not really thought about, but that's a good point. Against Alabama, right before the end of the half, Tennessee looked very discombobulated, scored a touchdown. Okay, I thought they got down there and looked discombobulated again. So maybe the problem is, building on what Sterling says, you're trying to come up with plays and formations, but so far you haven't. Remember they had one play, I think it was tied into the right, he went in motion, and then Joe tried to bootleg it back out to the right. And it just looked doomed to fail from the very start of the play. And I think a lot of their plays have looked like that you just kind of look at it and go, what are you trying to achieve? So I think it comes back to play calling, and maybe, since you've lost the key piece, that's why.
Okay, Will Overstreet, you're 8 games in.
Yep.
So you kind of are what you are, I would think. You're 8 games in. You're 6-2, so it hasn't eaten you alive yet. But you got Georgia coming up. I don't think many people pick you to win that one. It could cost you if you're in a shootout with Missouri, though.
Yep.
Are these things that can be fixed, or do you just look at it and say, man, you're 8 games in, I don't think there's fixing it?
I think it's finding a player to fix it, right? So that's the problem is do you have a guy that you maybe haven't highlighted as much or you haven't put in certain situations or you hadn't designed plays around Fant?
And you may be missing the Princeton Fant also is what I was going to say. Yeah.
11 touchdowns. You had 18 in the red zone. I can almost guarantee at least 9 of those touchdowns that Fant had were in the red zone. So your production of your red zone from last year to this year has dropped by that one player, and they used him in a variety of different ways, and they had designed plays for him that they would build up that would look like the week before they designed two plays for Fant in the red zone against this defense. we don't have that guy right now that they have that trust in. So it's a missing of Brew or somebody, but they haven't figured out that's the guy for the red zone.
Agreed. I think there were a lot of people who expected either Castles or Warren to step up this year and kind of fill that role. It makes Fant in hindsight look even better than he looked last year when we praised him quite a
he's
bit.
a quality player.
Is there a way to fix this? Specifically the departure of Brew McCoy.
Well, I think it is. And this is why. Because when we did score in that one time against Kentucky, we had that Dylan Sampson run. Okay. Prior to that, we had a nice run by our quarterback, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay. So I saw some type of passion getting pointed at some of the Kentucky defenders by the coaches because he made that slick run, which is kind of nifty, in my opinion. But see what happened? They had that millisecond of hesitation when he had that run.
So the option.
And that millisecond of hesitation by the linebacker allowed him to get hooked by the guard when he pulled. And we got right to the end zone. He nifty run and got us to the end zone. So I think now that we have Joe understand he can run and he's actually reading that option, those guys that are shadowing him, that millisecond of indecision, that's going to create some more holes, get us more progression in the red zone.
All right, very good. Got to find the guy. Maybe a little more Joe Milton running the ball, which you referred to earlier in the first segment as well. Okay, very good. That's how you fix the red zone. Done.
Got it.
When we come back, UT is getting big production from their running backs, but are they being as creative as they could be with their running backs? We've got to pick nits. Come on back on the Sports Source.